It takes everybody to bond together and to make this a better place. And that's what's happening in the Northside now. People are bonding together and they're realizing we have to work together to get this done. Not just for our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, but for everybody.
My parents moved to Northside, I guess like in the 1940s. Well, what brings back the most memorable things in the neighborhood is me and my wife moving back into the house I was raised in. I can still see myself in that house when I was a kid. You walk outside and you just remember, God, we used to walk down this street, or we would walk down to the corner store, and buy a bag of chips and a Coke for 10 cents. If we didn't have money, we would walk around the neighborhood, and if we would find Coke bottles, back then you had to make deposits on your soft drinks. We would collect them bottles, take them to the store, get our money, and then turn around and buy whatever we wanted to buy. We found ways to keep ourselves entertained. A group of friends would get together. We'd go down to Moody Park and hike the bayous all day. We'd start at Moody Park, wind up all the way downtown. When you're back to where you grew up, and like I said, when you walk out that door, you can still see that vision of, the way the neighborhood was, and something that's close to your heart that you can continue to remember your past. That's what keeps communities alive, is people coming back and helping, and to make sure that the community stays, that has a future. Even if I did move away tomorrow, my heart will always be in Northside.
I was born in Houston, Texas, August 6, 1944. We lived in the East End at that time, or my parents did. I came to the North Side about 1961 when I first got married, and so about 57 years ago. And I settled, I think, my home on Annette Street, 1964. When I first moved here, there were a lot of Polish and Italian people living here, some I guess Japanese farmers. There was a lot of farmland in this area at that time, down Airline, Little York, out in that area. And so it was very, very quiet. We lived on a street. The families were usually large then, so we had 40, 50 children on the block at one time. And kids, it was very safe. They get out and play and ride their bicycles to the little corner grocery stores. We had two on about 2 or 3 blocks each way. My parents were very involved. They were probably trailblazers, especially my mom back in the 50s and 60s. As a mother with 5 children and working many times, she always found time to do PTA work, church work, all kind of work. So I guess it just set an example for me. When I hear somebody say, "Oh, we don't have enough time," I just want to say, you make time somehow.
As far as I can remember, it was about 9 or 8. Then we moved to a second ward, and we lived in the projects at Clayton Homes. And after that, we moved we stayed in the neighborhood in Navigation. Then after that, my dad bought a home over there in Northside by Jeff Davis High School. So, yeah, it's mostly whites or Anglos and Hispanics. We had our little gang fights in the after school and all that, and from Jeff Davis to Marshall and all that. Well, I guess that's a teenage deal. Really, what I wanted to do was study, be a lawyer a long time back. To go to the Corney library, right? Where I live right now, back in 71 when I came out of the service, I figured I'm not going to get no more apartments, and we didn't have no family, so I said, my wife and I left the home when I was 16, 17. So I was been on my own. I said that's ever since. And yeah, beautiful because the government helped me with that. So I said, well, man, gotta give me something. No, I didn't. I didn't ask for nothing, but I said, well, I'm not gonna live in no projects and all that all my life. When I was a kid, so I done better for my family.
Yo nací el 28 de agosto de 1957 en la ciudad de Matamoros, Tamaulipas. Yo llegué a la zona donde yo vivo, en el área del Northside, en el año de 1977. Y en esa misma área, hasta ahorita, todavía estoy viviendo. Ha habido muchos cambios, unos positivos y unos negativos, obvio. Pero uno debe de enfocarse en los cambios positivos que hay. Porque si te vas a enfocar en lo negativo, pues no sales de ahí. Cuando yo llegué aquí en el año de 1977, llegué en un friazo y lo primero que hice, ¿sabes qué? Llegué un miércoles y para el día siguiente a trabajar en la construcción. Cuando se dio la amnistía, metimos nuestros papeles. Me metí luego a trabajar al Distrito Escolar Independiente de Houston. Y hasta ahorita estamos trabajando, mi esposa también. En la comunidad nos ha marcado en esta área de que podemos ver cambios y podemos hacer algo para que cambie nuestra comunidad, ¿me entiendes? Para bien. Nosotros no venimos a hacer problemas, nosotros somos parte, somos solución a esos problemas que puedan haber. Mi esperanza para la comunidad es que sea una comunidad bonita, que podamos decir, mira, ¿sabes qué? Esto que estamos haciendo se está viendo. O sea, es algo que podemos verlo y no nada más verlo nosotros, sino nuestros nietos, nuestras generaciones que digan, ¿sabes qué? Mi abuelito anduvo aquí en esta calle y anduvieron ayudando y podemos ver esto, lo que ellos hicieron.
Yo nací en Monterrey, México. La zona donde yo vivo está localizada en el parte de Northside y llegamos ahí en 1985. Traía prácticamente, nos venimos a vivir a Houston de México. Esta fue mi primer residencia. Pues bueno, comencé una nueva vida en febrero del 85, llegué aquí a Houston. Compramos nuestra primera casa en el 96 y en la misma calle donde llegué en 1985. Hasta el día de hoy vivimos en la misma casa. La cosa es que casi la mayoría de los que estamos ahí, los muchachos, los niños aquellos, crecieron con los míos y ahora pues casi la mayoría están casados, tienen sus familias y somos la misma comunidad ahí en esa calle. Mi esperanza hoy en día para mi comunidad sería ver que tuviéramos lo mismo que las otras comunidades tienen, por lo que estamos peleando, mejoras en el parque que está a la vuelta de mi casa y que mis hijos nunca jugaron ahí. Nos falta un poquito disfrutar de nuestra área, de tener más área verde alrededor, no sé, de ver tantos solares que están solos, con árboles solares que no se limpian nunca. O sea, ver todo eso hermoso, o sea, como una comunidad que cambia, que estamos luchando nosotros para que pase.
I was born on February the 3rd, 1957 at Heights Hospital in Houston, Texas. It was still part of the country or kind of rural-ish. People had chickens and goats and horses in their backyards. Out of my grandmother, on my mother's side, 13 grandchildren, my brother and I are the only two to graduate high school. So education's never been prevalent. Getting a job, making a living, having a family were what was expected of you. And I was able to go to the U of H downtown and was cross-enrolled at Rice University in the Navy ROTC program. So that's why I went to college, was to do more and become something else other than a secretary.
So what did you do after you graduated?
I became a secretary. No, after I graduated from college, I was an intern in Mayor McConn's office. I helped coordinate dignitary visits like Vice Premier Deng Xiaoping from China to Houston and other major dignitaries. I also worked as a volunteer on the Carter White House as a staff advance coordinator, or helping to organize the first televised vice presidential debates at the Alley Theater. I was the youngest member of the Texas delegation to the 1980 Democratic National Convention in New York City. The last 18 years I've worked for the City of Houston Legal Department in the real estate section. We've already lost so much, so many prominent buildings, so many things. So that's why I do all of my historical projects is trying to save itty little bitty bits. I don't do big projects, I do little projects, and so hopefully they'll accumulate to be significant.
I was born 1948 on Crockett Street. They lived there until my dad bought a house on Houston Avenue. My mother only went to the 7th or 8th grade, and my dad went to the 3rd or 4th grade. My dad was very interested in businesses, and he was very smart in businesses. That's when he opened the Northside beer area. And that was right on Bishop Street. It was a wholesale grocery store beer place. It was probably the first in that area. He worked for the railroad, my grandfather, which he was one of the first Hispanics to be working for the railroad. And he spoke very little English, but he was very strong. I guess that's what you need to be in those days. And he retired from the railroad. In fact, his name was Aurelio Gutierrez. He had a very good job for his age, for his time. And with that, they were able to buy the houses where we lived, and they were able to buy, they had a little store. She even had a little business too. My great-grandma, and with the children, that's how she made it, Mother used to say she saved every little penny she had. And she bought the first house with $500 worth of pennies, dimes, and nickels, because in those days, the banks would take the change, okay? And that's how she did it. She bought her houses. So they've been, from them to us, we've been in the North Side, I don't even know how many years, because she would have been probably over 100 years in the North Side. I think that this is what we need to help our children realize it is going to be a movement to bring this neighborhood up. But they're so used to moving outside, so they don't stay. But I think you just have to, it's like anything, you have to wait a little bit.
I was born September 6, 1950 in San Diego, Texas. I moved to Houston in about 1972, the summer of 1972, and I had friends that lived in the North Side, more specifically in Lindale, so I visited them often. Well, I came to Houston just like everybody else to look for a job. That's really what people do, and they continue to do. I came here after college, put everything I had in a little VW a Volkswagen Bug, and came down here, and sure enough, I got here Labor Day weekend, 1972, and I had a job by the middle of October. Part of the American dream is to own your own home, and I was so excited, and for me it was not only was I excited that I was buying a home, but I was excited that I was able to find one in Lindale, because that had been the spot that I had just kind of been looking at, and my friends called me immediately when they saw the for sale sign. They said, you're going to like this one, come, go. And I put an earnest money contract on it immediately because it was perfect. And I've been there since I think it's about 1978. The foundation my parents laid, growing up, and they always made family and church and school the most important things in our lives. And I think that helped shape who I am today. But I was lucky that I moved into a neighborhood who had the same priorities, because that's what Lindale is. They believe in family, they believe in schools, and they believe in church. If you've got the desire and you've got the passion for public service or for any kind of civic engagement, you need to do it. This is the time to do it. And whether it's just being involved in your own civic club, your church, your school, not all of us are going to run for office. I know that. It took me a while before I took the plunge and ran for office. But each and every one of us can make a difference.
Well, I was born here in Houston, Texas, over there on Easy Street. That was back in 1945. Well, after I graduated from Jeff Davis, I was walking downtown and I saw this sign with this bearded guy had a pointed and said, "I want you." So I walked in and it was the military. So I went in and signed up and went into the military. After I joined the military, I put in my time. I was put in 3 years and then I came out. I started working, looking for a job, and I found a job with the post office. And I was there I retired after 35 years. When I started delivering the mail, I started at West University. At that time, people still discriminated. When I came to Northside, the people, they saw me and said, "Oh, do you speak Spanish?" And I would talk to them and say, "Well, a little bit, depends on who I'm talking to." And since I spoke Spanish, they communicated with me and everything. Anything any problems they had, they would talk to me. And so they would treat me right. Some people would give me food, said, I'd be coming by delivering mail and here's a taco here or, a taco there. So I was taken care of.
We were originally from Abilene, Texas, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But my sister graduated in '58 and she wanted an exciting life. So she moved to the city with a cousin of ours. And my parents said, well, she can't live there by herself, which she wasn't. But we came. And in 1958, we moved to Northside. Out in the country, you have all this freedom. You run everywhere, you do anything. Of course, there's cows and open spaces and outhouses. But in the city, you came and you were restricted. I mean, you were in a house, there was another house next to you, and people didn't talk. Out in the country, everybody took care of one another. And here in the city, it was like everybody was their own little island. I met my husband because I was walking to school and I spied this handsome guy. And I was at Marshall and he was at Davis. And I saw him and I told my girlfriend, I said, you see that guy over there? She said, yeah. He always passes by in his little uniform. I said, did you notice he's got a senior ring? And she said, no, I didn't notice. I said, well, I did. I said, I'm going to be wearing that senior ring. I think he's got a girlfriend. I said, well, it doesn't matter. And so I chased him. And I caught up with him, and I've had him now for 54 years, and I think I'm going to go ahead and keep him. I see a more bonded community. I see that little by little, we are starting to realize that it's not the color of our skin. It's what we feel in our heart and what we can do with our minds. The neighborhood is always going to be the neighborhood. There's always going to be, old spots that never change. The buildings are going to be there forever. But the people have changed. They're starting to care more about the other people in the neighborhood, the buildings, the neighborhood itself. It's starting to come back together like us out in the country, that you cared about your neighbor, that you cared about your surroundings, It's starting to be a neighborhood again, like it was a long time ago. And that's a good thing, a real good thing.